What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Here we are with another reaction. In this one, we have 9 Dutch kitchen stuff not used in America. US versus Netherlands. Intrigued to see what you guys use that we don't over here. Uh, it always fascinates me. So before we dive into this video, if you guys happen to enjoy, please don't forget to subscribe, get a video a thumbs up. Also, if you like to support this channel by becoming a member, all you gotta do is hit that join button to receive your exclusive benefits. Let's dive right in.
Hi everyone, I'm Ava, and today I want to talk to you about 9 things that you will find in a Dutch kitchen, but you won't find in an American kitchen. Some of the things I'm going to be talking about are legitimately Dutch things. I didn't even know they existed before I was introduced to Dutch culture or my girlfriend, but now I know they exist. And some of these other things are probably just more common in a Dutch kitchen, but not as common in the US. But
Okay.
I will say that it just to me shows that there is a cultural difference because I think the Dutch prioritize different things in their everyday cooking and everyday food habits. Now, before going into the things, I did want to say that because we live in such a global world, I don't want to say that you maybe never find these things in any American household. Number 1 on
What
this
we
list
got?
is a gasgraaf, this little guy. So in the
What's
Netherlands, when
that
you buy
for?
cheese, you often buy them in
Oh,
these huge blocks,
I've seen people
huge
use
blocks of
that
cheese.
in different
Heaven for me,
videos.
honestly. So you buy them in these huge blocks and then you need to slice them. Now, in the US, when you buy cheese, they're typically already sliced or already in tiny blocks, so
Yeah,
you don't need to do anything to them.
yeah.
Or if you do, it's very minimal. You might get these tiny slabs of cheese, and
hmm
then you could just use a cheese knife to cut them.
Yeah.
A cheese knife, if you're fancy, that's also not it's not an
Not
extremely common
common.
thing to have in
No.
a kitchen in the
Agreed.
US. But you just use a knife and you slice them up, and it's pretty easy to do with these small blocks of cheese. But when you are buying these huge things of cheese, you need something else. You need this. You take it and you slice it.
That's pretty
Now,
dope.
I thought it would be relatively easy to use one of these things when I was first introduced to them over Christmas with my girlfriend's family. Turns out I was wrong. I could never get the pressure right, just beautifully slice a normal slice of cheese. My cheese slices were always a little uneven or a little broken,
That's
but hey,
okay.
over time I have mastered it. So yeah, this thing is not as common. And also, you should know there are 2 types of gasgraaf. For those of you who are not familiar with this item, this one is typically used for old cheese because the
Oh,
Dutch have 3 kinds of cheeses. Old, what they called belege, so
Belgium.
semi-old,
Okay.
and young cheese. So for the younger cheeses, you would use a slightly different kind of
Hmm.
gasgraaf. Something that looks a little like this.
Oh,
Now, if you
why?
notice, the difference is this like little thing over here, and I think that's just because the younger cheese tends to get stuck a little over here,
Okay.
so it's better to use this instead. Number 2.
That's yeah. I feel like I've seen that in different videos of maybe like European countries, but that I've never seen that in not one American kitchen. Because like she said, we buy our cheese already sliced, or they're in smaller blocks, so you don't need that to slice it. But that's very fascinating. I would love to just use one to just kind of I don't know to use it. I feel like it'd be cool because it's just something I've never done. But so if I could just use it to use it, that's all.
2 is a aardappelstamper, or a potato masher. In the US,
We
we
got
do mash
potato
our potatoes.
mashers.
We have mashed potatoes, most famously over Thanksgiving. But
Love mashed
surprisingly, this
potatoes.
item, from my experience, isn't very common in an American kitchen. I think we just use a fork or something to mash our potatoes. But a aardappelstamper
Hmm.
is a Dutch kitchen staple. The Netherlands is the land of the cheese, but also the land of the potatoes and the
Yeah.
potato eaters. The Dutch
Nah, my
love their potatoes.
mom definitely had a one of them to mashed potatoes with growing up. Yeah, I've seen that in it. I feel like that. Well, I guess growing up to me, it's common for me because I grew up seeing it. But I guess when I look at different households, I don't know how everybody make mashed potatoes. Not a ton of them had those, but yeah, mom definitely had one of those. She was putting in that work on the potatoes, and her potatoes are still my favorite to this day. To this day. All right, let's keep it going.
Potatoes and they like their food mashed. So this item makes total sense here in the Netherlands. Moving on to number 3. Now this one is really very typically Dutch, and it is a poffertjespan. Poffertjes, I think the best way I can describe them are these little mini pancakes. And in order to make these little mini
Oh.
pancakes, you need to have a pan with several little holes in them. I wouldn't have even
Oh.
imagined such a thing to exist because, of course, we don't eat poffertjes in the US,
Mm-mm.
so I couldn't imagine that you would need to make them in something. I mean, of course, you could make them separately, but I think that would be a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
So the clever Dutch have this poffertjespan that they use. And the first time I actually encountered a poffertjespan was when I was taking a Dutch class in the US, and my Dutch instructor wanted to make them for us. So we went to someone's home, and he very nicely used this poffertjespan to make poffertjes.
That's
So
so
this is a cute
cool.
little item a Dutch person might have in their kitchen if they would like to make poffertjes. And why wouldn't you like to make poffertjes?
I have went to
Number
the like grocery store. I don't have that pan. I've never seen that pan since you're in an American kitchen ever in my life. But I went to the grocery store and I bought those like little pancakes about that size, like a box of them, and I could just like throw them in the air fryer and they were good. But yeah, that pan is very uncommon here. Very uncommon.
4. I'm going to call number 4 a Maanlander. This item has been in my kitchen for ages, months, and I've never used it because I couldn't figure out what it did. My partner, who is like my Dutch cultural reference for all of these things,
I feel
calls
that.
it a Maanlander.
Manlander.
Apparently, that's not what this
Manlander.
item is called.
Oh.
But what would I know? Because I didn't even know what it did until very, very recently. And this was in my kitchen. I had never seen anything like this in the US. I'm talking about this guy. Like I said,
What?
it looks like a lunar lander.
What
But
is
it
it?
actually is a grater or a slicer.
Oh, either
I
or.
didn't know that, but because we just don't have a grater or a slicer that looks like this in the US. And again, to reiterate, it's not that we don't have things to grate or slice. We also have graters and slicers in the US where you have to move the handle manually, but I had just never seen one that looked like a lunar lander. So this
No.
one is on the list because it's just so unique looking.
Yeah, very, very unique looking. Never seen anything like that in my life. If you guys do use this daily, like how easy is it to use? You got to put some muscle in it, or pretty simple, pretty easy to grate, or how does it grate? I can see how it would slice, but how does it grate?
Right along to number 5, a weighing scale.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a great example that allows us to see the differences between the US and the Netherlands. Normally speaking, you would never have a weighing scale in your kitchen because we tend to use cups.
Mm-hmm.
Here in the Netherlands, you measure things to the gram.
Yeah.
I have seen my girlfriend use our weighing scale. First of all, she insisted we buy a weighing scale. And then when we bake, we went from, oh, hey, we're going to throw in a cup of this, 2 cups of that, maybe half a cup of this, to, okay, was it 183 grams or 182? And then we like have to measure it to make sure it's precisely right.
I feel that.
I am just not used to baking that way or cooking that way.
Yeah.
I use cups. That's what I'm used to. I even brought my cups from the US with me because I just cannot get used to these precise measurements. I mean, we spend so much time over like 1 or 2 grams. And she, on the other hand, gets really frustrated because a cup isn't very precise. You could decide how much you want to fill up that cup. Do you leave the rim a little empty? Do you fill it up all the way?
True.
Is it a heaping cup?
I mean,
Is
it's
it a
true.
slightly less cup? So she was always really frustrated. She's like, I don't know how much we're putting in our food. Whereas for me, it's all relative. So a weighing scale is not something you will find in an American kitchen. We use cups and spoons. That's how we do it.
Yeah.
Number
29 years old and literally just bought my first kitchen scale yesterday. Was just walking around in the store. I had it for a good price, and I do want to learn to be able to cook more foods. And I've seen many videos that say, like, although we use cups and everything, and I'm used to cooking that way, they say the scale is more active. You can get more act close to the actual recipe by using the scale and using the weighing measurements than by cups, because like she said, you decide how much is in that cup. So I bought one yesterday, and we'll see if it ever gets used, or if I just bought it to store it, or if I ever use it.
Number 6, flessenliquor. This name cracks me up. Literally translated, it means bottle liquor. When I first saw that, I thought to myself, what in the world could that be?
Yeah.
And then I saw what it looked like. And I was like, what is this? Is it a rubber hammer for children? But then why is it
What
called
is it?
a bottle licker? Well, it turns out the name actually makes a lot of sense when you discover that it is a spatula that you use in order to get stuff out of a bottle. Because if you want to get stuff out of like a pan or a bowl, a large bowl, you will use a different kind of spatula. So
Mm-hmm.
they just happen to have two kinds of spatulas here. And I didn't know that because in the US, we have the one shape.
Yeah.
Number seven
Facts.
is a tea saucer type thing. So I'm not talking about what you would put your teacup on, like a
Mm-hmm.
cup and saucer, that kind of saucer. But in the Netherlands, first of all, people drink a lot of tea. We, of course, drink tea in the US, but not as much as I've noticed Dutch people drinking tea.
I
I
feel
feel
that.
like drinking tea in the evening time is very much part of Dutch culture, I would say. It's
Oh.
something that I really noticed my partner, her family, and her friends do. I also noticed that every time they made tea or they brought out tea, they would also bring out this one other thing that I never used in the US, and that is this thing over here. This is a tiny little bowl
You drink the
where
tea
you
out
will
of
put
it?
your tea bags after you're done with them.
Oh.
I mean, it makes total
Huh.
sense. I don't know why I haven't used one of these in the US, but it's just not part of our kitchen.
Mm-mm.
We are so uncivilized. We simply leave our tea bags in there. Or even worse, we take it and we dangle it over the trash can and we dump it right in.
I love how she said we are so uncivilized. We Nah, yeah, I've never seen that in any kitchen. But I don't drink tea, so I guess that really wouldn't be of use to me unless y'all use it for other things.
It gets kind of messy. So when I discovered this, my life got a little better, a little cleaner. So this is definitely one of those things that I eventually found in some hip shops in the US once I, was acquainted with this on my trips to the Netherlands. I bought one because I found that I couldn't live without it anymore. So this not common in the US. It might exist, but it's not common in the US. Number 8 is gourmetta. I hope I said that right. I
Gourmetten.
keep wanting to say gourmetta, but I think that's very American.
Gourmetten.
So this is a typical Dutch thing. And last Christmas,
Ooh.
I was acquainted with this typical Dutch thing. What it is a hot surface and basically a indoor barbecuing, grilling type kit that people like to bring out on special occasions, like
Oh,
Christmas. And I think especially it's a Christmas thing from what I've been told. So over Christmas, they bring out this set and everyone sits around the table and grills little vegetables or some meat. And it's a nice little activity where you grill your food together and you eat it together.
That's cool.
How cute is that?
That is
This reminds me
cool.
of cheese fondue where you also get together and you dip your bread in
Yeah.
the melting cheese, and it's kind of like an activity along with your food. So this is similar in that way. So I can totally see how this is part of we want to do stuff with our food, and it's a nice together activity as opposed to just eating it.
Yeah, I
Number 9.
did never seen that ever, but I think that is really cool, and I would love to grill some food on it and be surrounded by friends and families, and we all friends and family, and we all grilling our food like that would be dope.
Bread caskets. Ava, do you mean bread basket? No,
No,
I do
bread
not mean bread
caskets.
basket. I mean bread casket or bread coffin, a bread box. I think these things are so adorable. And actually, they make a lot of sense. So in the US, we like to put our bread in bread baskets. If you are someone who eats a lot of bread in a family or something, that is something you might have, even though it is quite fancy. So I wouldn't exactly say it's a normal thing to have in your house, a bread basket in the US. But here in the Netherlands, it is very normal to have a box for your bread. And it makes total sense because it keeps your bread fresh longer because you're actually covering it. And these boxes often tend to be really, really cute, really antique, really stylish. I really like these things. The first time I was introduced to them, I was like, this is awesome. I mean, look how cute. Of course, you'd want a bread casket for your bread.
Yeah,
Well, the bread here is way better than bread in the US, and you would want to keep it fresh longer.
Understandable.
So why wouldn't you just have one of these things?
yeah.
I think in the US, the bread is not that good to begin with, so I guess we
Oh.
prioritize showcasing our bread on a basket as opposed to actually trying to keep it fresh. That was a joke. Did not mean that. The bread here is better, but I don't think Americans are that superficial. So if a Dutch person doesn't want to put their bread in the freezer, they may choose to put it in a bread box or bread casket.
There you
So those are some things that I noticed
Why
were
we
very
box here? I mean, yeah, for decoration. Like honestly, I don't ever put bread in it. My wife got it, and it does look better when the bread is in it. But I just never grew up ever using a bread box, so I never stuffed the bread in there. Because the bread's already in like the bread bag that you buy it in, so I just leave it in that bag and put it where I can see it. Sometimes I'll even put it on top of the bread box instead of literally just opening and putting it in.
Typical in a Dutch kitchen or more common in a Dutch kitchen, but just not that common in an American kitchen. So, for those of you watching this, if you are Dutch, what are some things in your kitchen that you think are typically Dutch? Let me know in the comments. And if you're watching my videos and you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that button. It's a nice, easy way to get notified when I post a new video.
Y'all talk to me in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Please, would love to hear from you guys if you guys see anything else that we probably don't use. But yeah, most of this, besides the potatoes and smasher, I really never seen any of these things in the U.S. And they're probably in some households, but they're not common here. That's 100%. Y'all let me know what y'all think. If you enjoyed, don't forget to subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, check out the next